Well, the power of communication. I mean, we talk about it a lot, and I think people understand that it's important. But, boy, I'll tell you, as somebody who has a background in that area myself, it is just critical, and it'll be critical tonight as we watch President Obama and Governor Romney go at it. And I thought we ought to take a closer look at the power of communication. So joining me now here at our WGN studios is author Helio Fred Garcia. He is the president of the crisis management firm called Logos Consulting Group, and he's executive director of the Logos Institute for Crisis Management and Executive Leadership. He's also the author of a new book you see there. It's called The Power of Communication, Skills to Build Trust, Inspire Loyalty, and Lead Effectively. Fred, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Good evening.
And I know you live in New York, so thanks for being here in Chicago with me to talk about this great book. I have read it. And let me start off by pulling some thoughts from it, because one of the things you say is, many leaders don't think enough about communication strategies. Of course, I would respond by saying, well, their people do, but perhaps they don't.
Yeah, one of the things we find is increasingly there's an expectation that leaders be good at engaging their stakeholders. And unless leaders take seriously the need to be good at it, the likelihood is high that when they really need the skills, they'll be less likely to actually deliver on the promise of engaging stakeholders well, whether they're in the corporate world or in the world of politics or in the world of not-for-profits. There's an expectation that they be good, and if they don't take it seriously, they're less likely to be good at it.
Well, of course, Ronald Reagan was known as the great communicator, and you know, some rank it, depends on your point of view, some rank him as one of the best presidents of all time, others do not. But that being said, I imagine part of the good view is the fact that he was seen as somebody who related so well to people, as Bill Clinton is seen as a great communicator as well.
Both President Reagan and President Clinton were seen to be able to connect with other people on terms that mattered to those people, and it's almost become a caricature of President Clinton saying, I feel your pain, but he seemed to empathize with the plight of other people. And that's one of the characteristics that increasingly leaders in all walks of life need to be able to do. Whether they're leading a company or leading a little league team or leading a school board, they need to be able to engage with other people and have the other people think that they actually care.
Yeah.
And one of the expectations these days is that people actually care about their stakeholders.
They do. In fact, let me take it to as you might guess, when I read your book, I had the debates in my head. I knew that was going to be the focus for it. And one of the things you say is that facts do not speak for themselves. They need context. And of course, all I thought about when I read about that was the fact that everybody's been saying to Mitt Romney, we want facts, the facts that go to your tax plan. The same is true of people calling on President Obama. We need the concrete facts. So within the scope of the lack of facts that those candidates seem to be presenting to everybody, what do we mean by facts need context?
Well, we know that facts by themselves are open to different interpretations. Is a 20% tax rate a good rate or not a good rate? Well, it depends. It depends on the context in which you understand the whole topic of taxation. What we find is very often leaders will provide facts without interpretation, and that causes people to reach their own conclusions. But as powerfully, the leaders need to frame and also provide facts. When I say that facts are not persuasive by themselves, it doesn't mean that they don't matter. It means that you need facts that make sense within a context. Part of the challenge, frankly, with Governor Romney more than with President Obama is the expectation that when he says something big, when he gives some framing statement, that there be facts that come after that. And what we find is you need both of those. That framing by itself without facts seems to be shallow or insincere. Facts by themselves without the frame are open to any number of interpretations. You need framing with facts that make sense within the frame.
And
you
indeed,
need both.
Indeed, Fred, you've just given the secret, as you said that, to how it is campaign ads are crafted, because, of course, I've never seen anybody who has an attack ad against them, even when they are quoted directly, who says, yes, that's what I've said and that's what I've meant. It's always been a new context created around whatever comment is being used, always to create, usually, a misperception about that candidate's views. And I'm talking about both sides of the aisle and all levels of race. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll be here with more on the power of communication. That's the name of his new book, with author Fred Garcia. We'll be right back. And I am back with author Helio Fred Garcia, the author of The Power of Communication, a great book. I actually really enjoy this. I love this communication stuff. Fred, again, thanks for being with me. Now, I want to talk to you about the power of nonverbal communication, but I want to do so in the debate context, and I want to do it so in a bit of a whimsical context by having you take a look at the way SNL dealt with some of the nonverbals in the first debate between President Obama and Governor Romney. Let's take a look.
The anniversary gift. I can't believe I forgot the anniversary gift. This is bad.
Mr. President?
I'm sorry. Yeah, what's up?
Mr. President, Governor Romney has just said that he killed Osama bin Laden. Would you care to respond?
No, you two, go ahead.
Well, Fred, okay, look, the line's funny enough, but the way the president looks so disengaged, whatever, it just goes to show how costly it is.
One of the things we find in all communication, but especially communication through the television, is that the typical television audience is looking at the potential president. 55% of their reaction is based on the body language of the candidate speaking, and 35% is based on the candidate's voice level, the voice dynamic range. So 90% of the audience takeaway is nonverbal. It's not what they say, but the manner in which they carry themselves and the manner in which they express themselves. And to President Obama's disadvantage in the first debate, his facial expression, his body language, and his voice were not up to the task that he had ahead of him. And of course, the audience, including his supporters, took away a very negative perception. That's what he's going to have to overcome tonight.
They did. The book is The Power of Communication by Helio Fred Garcia. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be watching nonverbals tonight and listening to what the candidates say. I'll be joining our anchor team after the debate at 9:30 on WGN News at 9. Thanks for joining us. I'm Paul Lisnick. We'll see you again tomorrow night on